Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling seas. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Black Life Texas News Magazine, your go-to source for informative, creative, and engaging news. With 85 convenient locations throughout San Antonio, Black Life Texas News Magazine brings you the latest updates on politics, social justice, culture, entertainment, and more. From thought-provoking articles to inspiring profiles, we cover the topics that matter most to you. Stay informed, connected, and inspired with our in-depth analysis and coverage of critical issues affecting the Black community. But we don't stop there. Black Life Texas News Magazine is your guide to upcoming events, festivals, and exhibitions that celebrate African American heritage and promote unity. Don't miss another copy. Subscribe today for convenient home delivery. Get your hands on Black Life Texas News Magazine and be part of the conversation that matters most to our community. Black Life Texas.
Welcome to Wise Guys. Two wise guys, and we're wise. We got all kinds of knowledge we want to share with you, the viewers. I am Fred Williams, former professor at African American Studies and American Government, author, screenwriter, and all those good things. And today we're going to be discussing some of the more important items or things that are happening in our country. And I'm going to turn it over at the beginning to Mario, but before I do it, I want to share with you someone who responded to our show last week, Mr. Ernest Johnson. Mr. Johnson said, "I saw your show. It was nice. However, if the Democrats are going to defeat the Republicans, they must analyze and understand their behavior and debate and show them why their thinking is wrong and present pathways for them to change their thinking and behavior. For some reason, I am reminded of this crazy driver on the freeway who's almost past his exit, but then cuts across 5 lanes of traffic, causing multiple accidents just to avoid passing up his exit. The Republicans are using dynamite to fix the deficit when a more skillful and surgical approach is required. The Republicans must be shown real examples why racism won't work in today's world." Thank you, Brother Johnson, for those comments. We do appreciate them. And I am now going to turn it over to my fellow wise guy, Professor Mario Salas.
Oh, thank you so much, Fred. Yeah, there's nothing like two wise guys in the room to mess things up or get things straight more accurately.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, I've been talking about SignalGate, and let me just do a little back history on it. SignalGate, Watergate, it all comes from the attaching the word gate to a scandal as something that took place during the Nixon era. And it was a result of the break-in at the Democratic Party headquarters at the Watergate Hotel, in which they were stealing information on people, trying to find out who gave money to the Democrats, et cetera, et cetera. And by the way, many of them were convicted, sent to prison. Nixon had to resign in part behind it. And so now we don't have a Watergate. Now we got a SignalGate. And the SignalGate, and there's a lot of different reports up about SignalGate. All the news sources are reporting it quite heavily. ABC News actually quoted one of the Democratic Party senators, I think it was Senator Mark Warner, who said that the information that was talked about in relationship to the attack on Yemen, which Trump ordered, and trying to stop the Houthis in Yemen, is that, my goodness, this could have resulted in American lives being lost as a result of talking on the app called Signal. And let me just make this point. Any really smart 12-year-old could probably hack Signal just like any other thing. And when an app says it's encrypted from end to end, well, that's going to stop the ordinary hacker. But the professionals, they know how to get through that regardless. And so they do point out that the interesting thing about encrypted or encryption is that it can still be hacked, no matter what claims a company may make. In fact, once a hacker finds out that you are using Signal app, there's a way that they can tell that's what you're using. So a hacker can tell you if the user is using Signal app simply by knowing that once you see the contact's first name, there's some colors that appear. And depending on what color it is, you can tell whether that person is using the Signal app, whether it's gray or blue, and that gives you an indication of somebody's using it to talk. Companies, I'll say this, that claim that end-to-end encryption is 100%, no one can hear what you're saying, know fully well that it can be hacked by professionals. So for them to use that and not more secure channels, Fred, I mean, I don't know how dumb can you get, to be quite blunt. But anybody could have listened in on that. And for all we know, maybe they did. Yeah. And everybody that was in the building that got blown up left, for all we know. So we may never know that. We also may never know if the airstrike that, and you notice they're not forthcoming with any details, Fred, like, okay, what leader did they wipe out? How many fighters did they kill? There's no details about what really happened. And it could be they just bombed an empty building. And of course, the public won't know if they bombed an empty building or bombed a building with somebody in it. So that's the problem. Many are saying that Trump's appointments to his cabinet are a bunch of rookies and have no clue about what they're doing, but instead operate on a do whatever Trump says system. And of course, we've now found out that just doesn't work. So that's why they're calling this use of this phone, which is not the best as far as keeping it private and secret, is just not the best to use. And so this is why they're calling it, or it's been dubbed, SignalGate. While in USA Today, they reported that Michael Waltz, the Trump's national security advisor, said he was working on, and check this out, Fred, he said he was working with a tech billionaire, as if we didn't know who that was.
Who that was.
and Trump ally, we know it was Elon Musk, and that the best technical minds were looking at how this happened. Yeah, I bet. And I wonder when we'll ever get a real report about that. Probably never, until the Freedom of Information Act is used 10 years from now. Yeah, so we know how they play that game. Yeah. And then USA Today even went further and making a good point. They went on to report that messages on SignalGate were classified. The Trump administration keeps claiming they're not classified.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my God. How dumb can anybody be? If you're talking about bombing another country and killing people, how could that be not classified? It
And
just,
give you a blow-by-blow account.
yeah, doesn't make
10:40, the planes are going to leave.
there you go.
You
And
know?
so, so anyway, they hinted, there was some hinting that they withheld the classified information, including messages from Hegseth. I have trouble pronouncing his name because I keep thinking of a hag. But anyway, that disclosed precise information about the weapon packages, targets, and timing. But wow, where is that real report? We've never seen it. So despite Trump's claim that the messages were not secret, appears that they were. But we can't expect Trump to tell the truth, as history has shown, Fred. And I don't think I've ever heard him tell the truth that I know of.
I know, yeah.
But lies and fabrication are the trademark of this current administration, no doubt about it. So Signal is very secure, they say, as is WhatsApp, but all of them can be hacked.
Yeah.
Like all electronic equipment can be hacked. And I often read The Guardian. They get pretty good information. They reported that a published report by Google back in February revealed that Russian state-aligned threat actors had exploited. They had already figured out how to hack Signal's app, the Signal app, phone calls and text messages. And what they do is they use link devices where they can see some functionality, and it gets kind of technical, but that enables people to read the messages on their laptop as well as phone conversations, connecting them through a QR code. Now, Fred, this is beyond my understanding. You know, I'm not a technical wizard or anything. As a matter of fact, I couldn't even get the right link for this show a while ago. but I understand that's very precise language of how you can use QR codes that can mask the signals on the Signal app. So then, yeah, make a long story short, in that sense, the entire Trump administration is under the microscope for doing this, and we still have to see what's going to happen after making this mistake. Another will another firing take place, or will it be another sweeping under the rug? And generally, I don't. Has he fired anybody yet?
No.
Okay. Well, then that ain't going to happen. So that's kind of where we are with this SignalGate stuff. I think it's going to blow up even more. And my God, Fred, I think, it's one enemy at a time, somebody told me once. So maybe after the Wisconsin vote, now we need to concentrate on getting rid of Hacksmith or whatever his name is. So it's just on and on and on. We're looking at all kinds of stuff that is going on with this administration, and the American people are hurting. We're hurting for this. We're people, all countries all over the world. We're going to wind up with half the world, at least half the world, aligning themselves against the United States.
Right. Yeah.
Because of this guy's administration. He's whacked out, Fred. He's just plain whacked out.
Where's the Congress? Where's the Republicans? If this had happened during the Biden administration, man, they'd be calling for all kinds of investigations. They'd be having hearings on the Hill already. They'd be asking Biden to fire this person, that person. But you hear crickets up there now. Nothing. No response at all.
No, and of course, you ain't going to get any from the FBI because of who Trump appointed. What's that guy's name Trump appointed for the FBI? I can't remember it offhand. And the guy's got that wild eye. He got a wild look in his face.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Something's wrong with him. But anyway, I mean, who am I to say? I'm not a doctor, but he has this strange look in his face that's troublesome. But that guy's not going to do anything. If Trump tells him to investigate somebody, he will. If Trump tells him don't investigate anybody, he won't. So it's real simple.
And Bondi,
he's weaponized everything.
Bondi won't either. She won't do a damn thing.
No.
She's the attorney general.
No. Yeah. What about that Pam? What's her name?
Pam Bondi.
Yeah. Yeah. She's something else. She's screaming and hollering, like a banshee out of hell. That's every time she gets on TV, she's screaming and hollering about somebody. No rational thought, no decent conversation, just screaming and hollering, dog-eyeing people. I mean, it's the typical, everybody has to act like Trump. So put on a dogged face, try to look meaner than Clint Eastwood, and then start making accusations. That's their whole line, that's their line of attack.
Right. Yeah.
You call that the political psychology of all this mess.
Yeah. Bondi's more interested in attacking or doing away with DEI than investigating this obviously security breach. That's what they're all about. Get rid of DEI. But it's like if it wasn't so serious, it would be funny. It would be a joke. Because, these are the guys who, what's the old saying going, they can't shoot straight.
Yeah, maybe they'll do a skit on. Have they done a skit yet on Saturday Night Live with Bondi?
Oh, I don't know, but I believe it's coming.
It should, because it'll be comical as I don't know what.
Yeah. So what do you think is going to happen? Nothing's going to happen, Mario? Nothing's going to happen.
Well, I don't know. But, do we need to take a break?
When I came back from the war, I was barely hanging on by a thread. I'm here today because of Tanya's relentless efforts in trying to get me healed. And says, Michael, I know you've got a plan to take your life today, but if you give me just 5 more minutes to love you. 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes, honey, 5 more minutes to love.
Michael has actually taught me what it looks like to accept help.
The bravest person I know is definitely my dad, 100%.
My friend Sean.
My daughter Cynthia, and she was in the United States Army.
One of the bravest things he ever did wasn't when he first enlisted, it was when he found his first support group.
Our journey has not been easy.
One of the bravest things he did was when he asked to move in with me and my mom.
I felt like I was lost, and you gave me a place to stay.
When he decided he was going to go back to school after 23 years.
It was the better part of my life that I spent in the Marine Corps. Transitioning out, it's a difficult thing.
She went on foreign soil. She went to war. But the bravest thing she did is when she asked for help.
So I really appreciate it.
You know you don't have to wear your PT gear anymore, right?
It's comfortable.
So how's civilian life treating you?
It's fine.
When I got out, I didn't want to admit that there was anything wrong because it felt like a failure. And then I realized, there's nothing to be ashamed of. So I started talking to someone. Maybe you are fine, but if you're not, it's okay.
Thank you.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
People couldn't see my potential, so I had to show them.
I've run this place for 20 years, but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper.
Today, I'm the CEO of my own company.
It's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
Why are we not rethinking this?
I am more.
I'm more
than who I am on paper.
About SignalGate? Was that about it?
No, but
when I close it out?
I think I'm done with that for a minute, but and then we're going to get into some more exciting stuff instead. Fred, I like the wise guys statistics you put forward. I know we're in for a real treat with that.
Okay.
Because statistics tell a good story or a bad.
They don't lie.
Yeah,
they don't lie. So let's talk about some of the statistics that's happening. Donald Trump is not doing well, folks. He's not doing well at all. And I think the statistics will show his favorability and his unfavorability, and his unfavorables are far exceeding his favorable. And I want to get that up there as soon as my producer can put it up so we all can see it. There we go. Okay, look at these statistics. Energy, favorable, 45%, unfavorable, 47%. Relation with the news media, favorable 44%, unfavorable 51%. Now, you wouldn't think that would be the percentages on the news media, because we all felt maybe he was influencing the news media so that people were turning against it. But it doesn't look that way. He's losing in that particular category also. Okay, handling the federal budget. Now, oh man, he was going to come in and straighten out that budget and everything going to be done right away. Well, let's look at how people rate him today for what he's done. His favorables are 43%. Mario, his unfavorables are 52%.
Oh, he kept saying it's going to happen right away. It's going to happen right away.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it looks like the opposite happened right away.
Yeah. Handling foreign affairs. Now, remember, that war would never happen if I'd been president. As soon as I get office, it'll end. In fact, it'll end before I even take office. Then he talked about he's going to give the word to Hamas over there. If you don't give back all those prisoners, all hell's going to break loose. I mean, he was making all these great big promises. I mean, just bad like a bully or something. Well, it's not working. Handling the foreign affairs, his favorables are 41%. His unfavorables are 55%. Folks, 55%. Environmental issues. His favorables are 41%. His unfavorables are 54%.
Kicked under the bus.
Yeah. The Ukraine Russia war. Now remember, that's the war he would sell in the first day. And look at his favorable on that. It's 41%. Wow. Unfavorable is 55%. Okay, now this is one. And I think anybody who has common sense knew this would happen. Relations with Russia. Since he's sent out the red carpet to Putin and kind of had that terrible attack, was embarrassing attack on Levinsky in the White House, it's affected him. His favorable is 39%. His unfavorables are 58%.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everybody think that, man, he's got Texas sold up. Oh, his ratings in Texas will always be over 50, 60, 70%, because Texas just love him. Well, look at the fact. His favorable rating in Texas is down to 47%, folks.
Wow.
Down to 47%. His unfavorables are 50% in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
all places.
Yeah. Now, Mario, his staff, and I know this happens in Washington because I worked there, they're not sharing this with him. So he really, unfortunately, he doesn't know what's happening out there. So he still goes around making these statements about he's got a mandate and all these, the whole country is supporting him. They're not. But think about it. If you're a staffer for Trump, are you going to go into the Oval Office and say, here are your ratings? You would be out of a job in the next 5 minutes, because
he'll fire them in a minute if they even bring it up.
Because he's not going to believe it. His ego is so out of whack. He's not going to believe that his favorable and unfavorable bill rating should be that low. And hopefully that's fine with me. I hope he keeps not believing it, and he keeps doing some of these dumb things, like trying to make Russia our friend, when there's no way in the world you're going to do that with the American people. So those are some of the ratings. And then I want to take a look at all the promises he made. He jumped out there making some great promises. And and let's see which ones he's lived up to. Okay, number one, in Russia-Ukrainian war, no. Punish schools with vax mandate, no. Close southern border, I'll give him a little credit, but the way he's going about it can be questionable. And I think one of the most, damaging things he did to our reputation is when he arrested that El Salvadorian who shouldn't have been put in that group and taken I mean, he was Venezuelan and was taken to El Salvador. He should not have been in that group. And now he's telling the country, well, it's out of his hands. He can't go get him out because he's under the jurisdiction of the El Salvador government, as though he can't tell that guy what he wants and what he doesn't want. And the pathetic thing about it, this poor man was arrested in his car with his autistic child. And they gave him time to call someone and be with the child, or they're going to put the child under protective custody. Can you imagine the trauma that child must be going through? And I'm sure as Black folks, we can really kind of relate to that, because how many times have children been in the car when these white cops have not only arrested them, but killed them?
Yeah.
So,
George Floyd,
yeah. So we can really relate to how that family must be feeling. So let's see, let me do a few more here. In EV mandate, no. Well, I think he may have made some movements. Yeah, I take that back. He got rid of that Biden EV where you had to eventually go to electrical cars and away from other cars. So he did that. I wonder how that went over with his buddy Musk when he did that. Okay, increased oil drilling. Now remember, these are all day one promises. Did he do that? No. Okay, here's a big one. Ending inflation. We're going to see.
That was a real joke.
Really. And we're going to see a nightmare, because he just did that executive order increasing the tariffs on almost every country in the world. And I think, going back to the point that Mario, you made earlier, we're going to lose all our friends. We're going to be out here isolated on this island by ourselves, the way he's going, because they're all going to start getting together and planning how not to have to do business with the United States.
Yeah, as strange as it sounds, China, Japan, and South Korea are getting together to oppose these tariffs. And wow, that's a unique thing. You're right. I mean, all these countries are going to start uniting against the United States, because what he's done is just, Fred, it's just plain stupid. It's just stupid, absolutely stupid.
Do you think his ego is so? I'm sure some of his advisors said, don't do it. But his ego is so big that he doesn't probably listen to anyone. He was determined to do these tariffs. He ran on it, and he's doing it. And he makes the argument that it's not going to come back on the American people. Well, yes, it is. Those costs are going to be passed down to the American people, and it's certainly, I don't believe, going to help inflation.
Well, here's the funny thing too. He gave the impression that the tariffs would only be against foreign cars. What he didn't consider, or he didn't want to consider, is that all these parts for American-made cars are what Taiwan makes American, Mexico makes American parts for Chevrolet and Ford and whoever. And so if the tariffs are going in that direction, they're coming back to hurt the consumer. Guys on the car lot, Fred, are telling CNN and other news sources that a car that's $30,000 today, in a couple of weeks, it'll be $37,000.
Right.
An American car, not a foreign car, an American car.
Yeah, it might even go higher than that. And his argument, well, good, their tariffs, maybe it'll force the American companies to come back to this country. By the time that happens, our cost of living will be so high, it's almost like no one can afford a car at that point.
Much less tomatoes and onions.
Okay, we got a couple more. In the Green New Deal, no, he hasn't done that. In Bidenomics, I'm not sure exactly what that is, but he has done it. Okay, here's a few more. In Birthright Citizenship, oh man, he thought he was going to do an executive order changing the 14th Amendment. I mean, what's up with this guy's ego? Man, he thought all he had to do was a executive order, and it negates what's in the 14th Amendment to the Constitution.
And everybody knows the 14th, any amendment is super difficult to change because three-fourths of the states have to go along with that, and a bunch of other process. The process is super complicated.
Yeah, 2/3 of the House and the Senate have to agree to it, and then 3/4 of the states will have to do it.
Yeah.
That shows you the monumental size of this guy's ego. He's going to do, one man, what it takes 2/3 of the United States Congress and 3/4 of the states to do. I know one thing. I wouldn't. I don't know if they could offer me enough money. No, they couldn't, to be advisor to this guy.
Like they did in Wisconsin, offering voters $1 million to vote for their man.
And it backfired on him.
Yeah, it sure did.
Yeah, it backfired him. He gave those $2 million away. Okay, a couple more, then we're gonna take another break. Okay, revoke EDEI. No, restore Trump travel bans. No, he hasn't done that. Pardon January 6th protesters. Well, he did that right away. Maybe the second day. Start cutting energy costs. That's not happening. And finally, the one they're doing, Mario, they love to do this and revoke DEI requirements. They're all over. That's bigger than anything else in their heads. So those are some of the promises he made on day one that he hasn't kept. So we're going to take another break here. We'll be back with just some random comments, and then we'll be closing out.
When I came back from the war, I was barely hanging on by a thread. I'm here today because of Tanya's relentless efforts in trying to get me healed. And says, Michael, I know you've got a plan to take your life today, but if you give me just 5 more minutes to love you.
5 more minutes, 5 more minutes, honey, 5 more minutes to love.
Michael has actually taught me what it looks like to accept help.
The bravest person I know is definitely my dad, 100%.
My friend Sean.
My daughter Cynthia, and she was in the United States Army.
One of the bravest things he ever did wasn't when he first enlisted, it was when he found his first support group.
Our journey has not been easy.
One of the bravest things he did was when he asked to move in with me and my mom.
I felt like I was lost, and you gave me a place to stay.
When he decided he was going to go back to school after 23 years.
It was the better part of my life that I spent in the Marine Corps. Transitioning out, it's a difficult thing.
She went on foreign soil. She went to war. But the bravest thing she did is when she asked for help.
So I really appreciate it.
Black Life Texas News Magazine, your go-to source for informative, creative, and engaging news. With 85 convenient locations throughout San Antonio, Black Life Texas News Magazine brings you the latest updates on politics, social justice, culture, entertainment, and more. From thought-provoking articles to inspiring profiles, we cover the topics that matter most to you. Stay informed, connected, and inspired with our in-depth analysis and coverage of critical issues affecting the Black community. But we don't stop there. Black Life Texas News Magazine is your guide to upcoming events, festivals, and exhibitions that celebrate African American heritage and promote unity. Don't miss another copy. Subscribe today for convenient home delivery. Get your hands on Black Life Texas News Magazine and be part of the conversation that matters most to our community. Black Life Texas.
Okay, one final issue I want to discuss is the 14th Amendment and being able to take people off the street, put them in an airplane, and fly them to a country to which they don't even belong. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with the 14th Amendment. I knock on wood, I'm hoping that the Supreme Court and Roberts will put more emphasis on what his what's the Roberts Court going to look at 50 years from now than to just accommodate Trump. and I'm hoping that they will rule against that executive order where he can determine who is not a citizen under the 14th Amendment. But if by chance they came out with that executive order went through and they declared that Trump can decide who is a citizen and who's not. Now, take that, put that with how you can pick people up off the street, put them in a plane and fly them to a country that's not even theirs. Now, Trump could cut a deal with, let's say, X country, to have prisons. All of a sudden, I know this may sound way out there to you all who are viewing this, but all of a sudden, he decides that not only does the 14th Amendment not include immigrants who come here, but it doesn't include Black people either.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if you wipe that out, you go back to the Taney decision in Dred Scott.
Well, hey, Fred, it might mean me and you are going to get picked up and shipped off.
Hey, there you go, man. There you go.
To the Seychelles Islands or something.
That's right. That's right, because it would refer back to the Taney Dred Scott decision that ruled Black people weren't citizens. Boom. Now,
well, you know, that's what he's playing out of the Hitler's Mein Kampf playbook, and he's the exact same strategy and play that he's using, and it's sickening. It really is sickening. And the good news is some of these very judges that he appointed at the Supreme Court level are beginning to find it so sickening, they're not going to go along with him either. So what's left for him to do, Fred? Declare martial law? I wouldn't be surprised if he tried that after a while. With the protests going on, people are this whole thing with Tesla, protests against Tesla every day of the week. Boy, did they smash Trump and Musk in Wisconsin. Trump and Musk were smashed in that vote. Well, by a big percentage, wasn't it?
She beat him by 10%, 45 to 55.
Yeah, and so that maintained the Wisconsin State Supreme Court with a liberal or to the left, however you want to categorize it,
right.
Majority.
Right.
So they're not going to get what they wanted, and as far as the condemning abortion rights, they're not going to get what they wanted as far as all kinds of voting rights. They're not going to get what they wanted. And this was a major, major defeat for Trump and Musk. And boy, people are celebrating this all over the world. And God, we got to declare Cory Booker hero of the year.
25 hours.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And you know what he said in an interview, Fred? He said he had this strong desire to go longer than Strom Thurmond went.
Yeah.
Back in 1957.
Right.
When Southern's racist, white supremacist, segregationists tried to stop the Civil Rights Act of 1957.
Right, yeah.
That Eisenhower was supporting and many others were supporting. Yeah. And he beat the racist. The racist no longer has the record.
Absolutely, yeah. So how do you feel? Do you have confidence, Mario, in the Supreme Court?
It was this much, and now it's going down to this much. And then every now and then it kind of wides back out, and then it goes this, it keeps doing this. And I think they're supposed to not be paying attention to the politics and only the law. Believe me, they are paying attention to the politics.
Yeah.
This whole thing about they're nonpartisan, they're not political. Yes, they are. And as they begin to read it one way or the other, you can actually see how they're voting, with the exception of a few knuckleheads like Clarence Thomas and that Alito guy. Those are two of the biggest knuckleheads on the Supreme Court. And so these, you see the Supreme Court doing this because they're reading the Times. They're reading it. And that's a good thing. So I think what people are recognizing is that the more protest that takes place, whatever form of protest you want to use, the more that takes place, the more that people resist this stuff, I think you'll see the Supreme Court start widening out with better opinions than they have, thinking, as long as they thought Trump had an absolute mandate, which you said and proved he doesn't have last time we were on the air, as much as they thought that themselves, now they're beginning to see, oh, he doesn't have a mandate. They're beginning to see that too. So so my confidence level goes in and out like a balloon. So
of course, never having confidence in Clarence. He's going to be. I think somebody tells him how to vote. I really do. I think somebody tells him how.
They're doing this. Hey, Clarence, you better vote like we told you.
Yeah, yeah.
Or you won't get another trip to the Bahamas.
And then going back to that scenario where they now can declare us as not citizens, and they can pick up you, they can pick up me, and ship us off to Island X or somewhere up in Siberia. Maybe he'll cut a deal with Putin to build more prisons in Siberia.
Yeah, give him $6 million to open up a prison to put black folks in.
Yeah, yeah. Now,
but you know what? You know what, Fred? Let me say this.
Go ahead.
Putin is not stupid. He's already bucking Trump. And that's why Trump is angry with him, because he called up 160,000 draftees just the other day.
Exactly.
Supposed to be a effort toward peace. Boy, Putin is ramping up the war. So he's already stabbed Trump in the back already.
And everybody knew he was going to, but Trump. Everybody knew that was going to happen.
Well, he's a magic liar, so that, he has magic in his pocket. So that Trump thinks everybody has to yield to his voice and yield to his thinking. The narcissistic general of the world.
Really, yeah. One final point, and I'm going to write on this for Black Life Texas is my editorial coming up next week. Are these Negroes that are supporting Trump? And what they don't know, what they don't realize, if what the scenario we created happen, they're not going to protect those guys. They're going to go too.
There you go.
They're going to go too. And I can imagine a lot of whites don't respect them because they can see what cop-outs they are.
Oh, yeah. Sellouts, cop-outs.
Sellouts, yeah.
Sambos, whatever term you want to use. Uncle Tom. Some people say Uncle Tom is no longer relevant. Yes, it is. Because I'm not talking about the Uncle Tom and Harriet Beecher Stowe's novel.
Yeah, right.
I'm talking about the Malcolm X Uncle Tom of blackface minstrels.
Yeah, right. Definitely. And they're still here. They're still with us.
There you go.
I got to remember that from my article. I like that right there from Malcolm. So talking about Malcolm, how do you think he would relate to what's happening today? How do you? He was always the one who was, even more than King. He spoke out. Chickens come home to roost when Kennedy was assassinated. So how would he look? How would he view this?
Well, in one of his speeches, he made some beautiful comments. I think it was in his last message, where he talked about how propaganda works in the press and in other places, and that how the black communities has always been portrayed as a community of criminals. And once you portray a community as a community of criminals, then any kind of force can be used to put into effect the most brutal kinds of punishment, police brutality, et cetera, and get away with it. So that I think he would say that Trump has put in the minds of people, and that's where you get these conservatives calling people names like libertard, and by the way, that's a bad term to use. That's an attack against handicapped people. Like retard, we don't use that word anymore, but these people are so stupid they still do. So, but I think Malcolm would talk about it from the standpoint of this propaganda is working on the minds of some people, and it's very effective with people that don't read anything, drinking beer all night long and don't even look at the news. This is the kind of people that Trump likes. These are his followers, the dumb, the ignorant, people don't know any better. People that are very used to the glitter of big words, the mean face. They're looking for some kind of God on earth. They're going to Jim Jones in Guyana, if you remember that.
Yeah, definitely.
He suckered over 800 people.
Yeah, to death.
Trump got him beat. Trump has suckered millions now.
Yeah.
So I think Malcolm would speak to the fact that that the propaganda, the press, and whatever other elements, in this case it's Trump, can plant in the minds of people, and then all kinds of crimes be committed against the people that they've propagandized.
Okay, I think we've had a pretty exciting show today, Mario. Do you want to, any final comments before we close out?
Well, she, I just can't get over this election win in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin?
And let me say this, I kind of figured that the special elections in Florida that the Democrats weren't going to win that.
Right.
But they did put a dent, and it was kind of surprising.
Wasn't it?
That many people in big Republican districts voted against the Republican candidate. So
In two of those races, Trump had won by 30% in both of them. And in those races, the difference was only 14%. So
oh yeah,
right. So you're right.
does that send a message?
Yeah. So
Yeah, the regime is about to fall, I think.
okay. With those words, we're gonna close out, and we will, wise guys, see you next week. As usual, we're gonna be telling our story our way.
Wise guys here.
We taking this off? How long do we go?